Good morning, guys. Welcome to the Wednesday, June 19th edition of the MMAOB Daily Show. As always, I'm your host, Adam Martin, going to be taking you through the latest in the world of MMA. First and foremost, guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. Follow this podcast at MMAOddsbreaker.com and on our YouTube channel. Please like, share, subscribe. We'd appreciate that. Also, check me out at sherdog.com, bjpen.com, MMAnews.com, and MMAratings.net. Got quite a bit to talk about today. Last night was the Contender series. The premiere of the third season. There was also a couple fight announcements I want to get to. So let's just get right into it, guys. And I want to mention quickly that me and Cole Shelton will be doing a full UFC Greenville preview pretty much immediately following this show. So around 10 o'clock, 10:30, something like that. So keep on this channel. You'll watch the whole preview. It'll be good. Let's get right into it, guys. So last night was Dana White's Contender Series, Season 3, the first episode of the new season. Pretty good fights. Only one finish out of the 4 fights. One fight, of course, fell apart because of a weight miss, but still decent fights. I did manage to watch it. The good thing about Fight Pass, you can watch things later. So I actually had my bowling league earlier, but I came home later that night. I avoided spoilers and watched the card. So let me just get to the results here, pulling it out. One guy got a contract, Jorgen De Castro. Huge upset in the heavyweight division, beating Alton Meeks by first round TKO. Man, I mean, this guy's leg kicks were absolutely brutal in this fight. And I told you guys, I said the other day, I'm like, why is this Meeks guy minus 900? What a stupid line. But it really wasn't the odds makers at fault here. This was the bettors. I don't know what people were thinking, laying serious juice on a guy with only a couple of fights. Alton Meeks closed at minus 800, and Jorgen De Castro was plus 550. So I think he was the biggest underdog, like in the UFC/Contender Series to cash this year, which is crazy. So good for that guy, man. Now, what did I think about his performance? I thought he looked really good. I was very impressed by this guy. Great signing by Dana White, I think. Man, I was impressed. Two things stood out for me from him. Immediately, Alton Meeks shot, and this guy stuffed his takedowns and stuffed them with ease against a really good wrestler. So very impressive takedown defense. That's what stood out to me. And second, of course, the leg kicks. Nasty kicks. He's a really big guy who moves really well. He landed a nasty flying knee like very soon into the fight, landed one later. This Meeks guy is not good, though. I got to be honest. Like, he just needs a lot of work, and he kind of turtled up at the end. So he's going to have to win a bunch of fights on the regional scene for the UFC to even consider bringing him back. Yes, he's a good athlete. Yes, he's a good wrestler. But, man, not a good fighter. Not for what I've seen anyways. But I was really impressed by the Castro, man. Like I said, gets the first round finish, 4:45 of round 1. I was super impressed. I saw some people saying they shouldn't have signed him, put him on a developmental deal. No, you signed this guy. 31 years old. He's actually young for a heavyweight in the UFC. If they didn't sign him, Bellator or PFL or one or someone would have signed this guy. He's actually really good, I think. So great signing by the UFC. Good talent evaluation here, getting him in the first place. I'd never heard of him before. The lines came out for this card. So, yeah, like I said, I was very impressed by this guy, and he absolutely deserved the contract. So good for him. Next, we had a really good fight between Brendan Loughnane and Bill Algeo. This was a very fun fight to watch. Pretty much a stand-up war between two guys that really wanted to fight in the UFC. Brendan Loughnane, I mentioned this yesterday in the show, he had a cup of coffee in the UFC back in 2012. He was on the Tough Smashes, the Australia season back in 2012, so a long time ago. Lost to Mike Wilkinson, but went back to the regional scene, went to Bama, went to ACB, got a bunch of wins. He had a couple losses over that run, but for the most part, was beating everyone he fought. So he deserved this chance to fight in UFC, and he goes out there and he beats Bill Algeo, who another guy. He needed basically a win to get back in the UFC because he's had a chance on. He hasn't had a chance before, but he's had some decent guys on the regional scene in CFFC, but this was his chance to get the next level of the sport, and I wasn't super impressed by his performance, but I was pretty impressed by Brendan Loughnane. He was really tough. It was a pretty good fight, like I said. Both guys stood in the pocket and traded for like 3 rounds. There's a lot of outrage on social media right now about this guy not getting a deal. And like I said in the show yesterday, he's had his chance before. So there's a lot of other fighters out there that deserve it. And I think this was a tough call for Dana, but the thing was, it didn't seem like it when he talked about it later on. He said, this guy didn't go for the finish. He wasn't trying to go out there and kill him. The guy's face was bleeding like crazy. His nose was busted up. I think he tried to finish the fight. I don't know. Like, I would have considered signing him personally, but I can see why I didn't. He didn't get the finish, and the UFC loves finishes on this show, so he didn't get the finish. It was a good fight, though. It was the best fight of the night, and, of all the fighters on the card, he had the most experience, so it kind of sucks for him. And then they asked Dana, Lauren Sanko asked him, are you going to bring this guy back for another fight? He said, we'll see, so that's not a good sign, really. If he doesn't get signed, though, by the UFC, I think Bellator would be a great fit for him. They do a ton of events in England. He'd be a good fit there. I think he's past BAM. I think he's above that. I think he's above ACB at this point. So I think if UFC's passing on him, Bellator is a great fit. Or even PFL if they have another season of featherweight fights. I think he'd be a good fit there. The guy's, he puts on good fights. I mean, this was a good fight. And as for Algio, he's got a lot of work to do, of course. His striking defense was not good, but we've seen this guy in the past. He has some decent wins on his resume, so he's got some work to do. But, I don't think he's completely off the UFC's radar at this point. But, yeah, I mean, I do kind of feel bad for Lofton because he left it all out there. I think didn't get the finish, and that cost him the contract. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Next up, we had a women's fight between Hannah Goldie and Kaylee Robbins. Not a great fight by any means. It's a strawweight fight, I should mention. Hannah Goldie gets the win by unanimous decision, but does not get a contract. I saw some good stuff from her in this fight, but it was too late. Like, the third round, she looked really good. Like Dana White was saying, like, the combinations she threw were really good. Really strong striking skills. Physically, she's a specimen for sure. And she beat someone with way more experience than her. So, this wasn't a bad win. If I was the UFC, I would consider giving her a developmental deal. I think there could be some interest from her outside the UFC, but at this point, she only has 2 fights. She does have 2 notable wins, though. Jillian Robertson and Kaylee Robbins. They're not scrubs, so she's beaten 2 fighters with a decent name in women's MMA. I think Invicta is a good fit for her right now because she does need more experience. She only has a couple fights. So let's see what happens there. As for Robbins, she's previously from Invicta. She might go back there. I think that's a good spot for her. She's only lost to some good fighters in her career, so I don't think she's that bad, but she's a little older at 34. I think Robbins, though, I could see why they passed her. She didn't get the finish. And like Dana White said, she didn't show enough urgency in this fight until it was way too late. But I did see some skill there. So if I'm Sean Shelby, I would consider a developmental deal. They didn't give it to her, but they can always change their mind about that. But yes, I think Invicta would be a really good fit for her, at least at this moment. And finally, we had the main event. Punahele Soriano beats Jamie Pickett by decision. Improves to 6-0 in his career. The Hawaii native gets a contract. I was a little surprised he got the contract, I'll be honest. Dana White said he was a killer and he loved his performance. To me, it was a decent performance, but I'm not sure why he stood out way more than like a guy like Lofton did, personally. I didn't think this was a great fight. This guy did a lot of just kind of taking Pickett down, holding him on the ground. I don't know. I personally didn't see enough. I would have signed him, but he is only 26. He's from Extreme Couture, so he's at a good camp. I don't know. I personally would have passed on him. I would have told him, hey, come back for another fight later in the season. That's what I would have did. But I'm not Dana White. I'm not Sean Shelby. So they took Soriano. They took De Castro. I 100% agreed with De Castro. But, if anything, like the other 2 fighters, I think I would have picked before Soriano. I think a lot of people were scratching their head at that one. I don't know. It wasn't really the guy I'd pick. If I had to list the fighters, I probably would have listed him last, to be honest with you. Like, I wasn't too impressed with his performance, but again, he seemed like he was really nervous too, and he was pissed he didn't get the finish. And Dana White said he liked that, so he got the contract. So yes, I think overall a pretty good episode of the show. I'm glad the show's back. It's a really good show. The 4 fights go by really fast. The good thing is when you tape it, when I watched it on Fight Pass, I was able to skip through all the. There's not really any commercials, but the promos and stuff like that, and Paul Felder and Brendan Fitzgerald talking. I can just skip through that stuff, get right to the fights, and there's no filler for the fights. They just go right to the fight, which is great. So I like that a lot about the show. Good show, great show actually. It's a lot of fun to watch, and more content for MMA fans to consume. So good start to the season, I think, with the De Castro finish. But I think in the next episode you'll see guys going for the kill because Dana White says, "I want killers. I want guys to finish fights." So we'll see that on the next episode, I'm sure, because I think this was a good learning experience for the people that are coming up on the show. Yes, you can win your fights by decision, but if you do, you probably won't get a contract. Also, Dana White talked a lot at the UFC Apex. So that's the new gym. He spoke to the media at length. There's like a 30-minute interview you can watch on YouTube, Scrum interview with Dana. Touched on a lot of topics. One that drew my interest anyways, and I wrote the article at bjpen.com, so check that out. Dana White talked about holding amateur events from other combat sports. So we know they're doing MMA, of course, with the Contender series at the UFC Apex. But he also mentioned they're going to do Muay Thai, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and boxing. And the boxing thing is interesting because Dana White said they'll be holding an amateur boxing event later this summer, and his own son will be competing on the event. So I don't know too much about his son, but he said he fought last year in New England, in Boston. So interesting. I mean, the guy's dad is the most famous MMA promoter in the world. You'd think he'd be doing MMA, but Dana White said, he likes boxing and he's going to support him. He said his other son does football, I believe. So not a combat sports guy, but he's doing another sport at least. We'll see what happens. I mean, we've seen a lot of just in sports in general, a lot of father-son combinations. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Who knows? I mean, we'll see. But the guy's got it in. Of course, his dad is super famous and is most famous MMA promoter of all time. And we'll see what he does as a boxing promoter. According to Dana White, he wants to hold amateur boxing events with the best amateurs in the country. He said he's not really interested in signing these guys to like exclusive deals, locking them down or anything like that. So we'll see if he changes his mind. We don't know Dana's about global domination and world domination, but it seems like he wants to help the fighters. And he says he has the platform with Fight Pass, but again, it's helping him too, of course. And the fact is, amateur, I'm assuming they're not going to get paid, but I could be wrong about that. We'll see. But yes, it is kind of interesting. His son's going to be fighting, and I think that's going to draw a lot of eyeballs. I think a lot of people actually want to see his son get knocked out in that boxing event, but I'm sure they're going to find McCann to fight and put him over on UFC Fight Pass. So that's pretty much all I want to talk about with the Contender series. Again, there's going to be a new episode next week, I believe, so I'm looking forward to that. Before we get out of here, there's a couple fight announcements I want to talk about. UFC Uruguay has its main event official. So Valentina Shevchenko will be fighting Liz Carmouche in a rematch. I am looking forward to this fight because, again, they fought before. Valentina actually opened up on this topic recently, and someone asked her about the first fight they had in 2010. I think it was like Oklahoma or something. It was like a small card. Liz Carmouche won by TKO doctor stoppage in the second round. Valentina said that the doctor stopped the fight prematurely. I have not seen that fight. I'm not 100% sure there's a footage available of it. There could be. I haven't looked yet. But I'm sure I'll watch. If there is, I'll watch it before this rematch. But, I mean, even still, how can you not like Valentina in the rematch? I mean, she's just insane. She's such a good fighter. She's an absolute destroyer. Liz Carmouche is durable. Maybe she can make it a couple rounds, but I don't know. I mean, Valentina is going to be a monster favorite again. I mean, you can't – there's no one really in that division that's going to give her a chance. I don't think you can say that, she's going to lose anytime soon. She's going to probably be another minus 1,000, minus 1,200 favor, something like that, I'm assuming. I mean, Liz Carmouche, again, she has the win. Maybe it's going to be a little less, but everyone's going to be betting on Valentina, putting her in their parlays, and I think for good reason. And just one other fight announcement here, UFC Fight Night 155. So, again, that card's not been official for Sochi, but that's the rumor. It should be taking place in Russia, but it's on August 3rd. The Uruguay card, I believe, is August 10th. So the August cards are getting fights now. Dong Young Ma, that's Junior Dong Young Kim. He's taking on Scott Holtzmann. So that's a fun little fight there. Scott Holtzmann has confirmed this fight is happening. It's a decent fight between two guys that should put on a good performance. Ma is more of a, he's more of a fighter that opens up his offense, whereas Holtzman's kind of a grinder. But we have seen Holtzmann get finishes before too. So could be a good fight, but we'll see what happens. And I'm not sure what the main event's going to be. The rumor I heard earlier was Volkov versus Overeem because they tried booking that fight previously, and that's a really good fight. But Volkov has some issues right now. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with him and USADA. I think that's what the problem is. So, hopefully that can sort it out. If it can, that's a really good main event. If not, it seems like Overeem's been doing a lot of these Russia main events, so maybe they can find someone for him. But we'll see. Anyways, guys, I think that's all I want to talk about today as far as the Dana White's Contender Series goes and any other fight announcements. So again, I'll be doing the preview podcast for UFC Greenville very soon, like 15 minutes. So stay along on this channel. You watch the show with me and Cole Shelton. Until then, follow me on Twitter at MMAdammartin, and follow the podcast at youtube.com/MMAOddsbreaker and on MMAOddsbreaker.com. You can watch it there as well. And check me out at sherdog.com, bjpen.com, MMAnews.com, and MMAratings.net. I've been writing quite a few articles the last couple of days to make up for everything I missed on the weekend, being away for the weekend. But yeah, check it all out, guys, and I'll be back very soon to break down UFC Greenville. Have a great day, guys.